Hello everybody and welcome back to Darkstorm Rising. I hope you've had an absolutely fabulous Christmas and that Santa's bought you all of those lovely miniatures that you had written down on your list, and maybe even some paints and some paintbrushes to help you get them finished off and out onto the battlefield. And if Santa is really such a nice guy, in return for those mince pies, he could even drop off a couple of his elves for a couple of months to help you get the army finished. But on the subject of painting, what is it we're going to be looking at today? Well, I've been searching through my bits box of odds and sods that I've got stored away as like projects, and one of the things I bought a little while ago was the commemorative series, Officio Assassinorum, and I think that the model just looks really beautiful with him sat between the sculpted bust sniping out. I think it'll be a really nice miniature to play with and to actually get finished. So that's what we're going to have a look at today, see how things go, and hopefully we can make it look a little bit like the box art, but maybe vary a few things just to spice it up a little bit. So I suppose we ought to go over to the table and maybe start some painting. So here is our assassin. I think he won't probably take that long, and it may be that actually the statue that's missing at the moment takes longer than he does. We'll have a look at trying to capture the silhouette of the bodysuit with appropriate shading and try to make it look like a shiny black bodysuit. And I think we'll try and stay fairly true to the cover art and keep those colours. So without further ado, let's get some paint on the palette. So the colours we've got on the palette are black, we have London grey, we have some neutral grey, and we have some wolf grey. And we'll work our way from quite a dark colour and blend up through the greys. So to start with, I've gone with the London grey mixed with some black to turn it into a very, very dark black. And what I've done is you can see where the light is actually striking the miniature on his thighs, his codpiece, onto his knees, down his shin. And actually what I've done is I've turned it away from the light. You can now see that it's grey, and I've just mimicked where the light is striking. As I turn it away, you can see I've not worked on the abdomen yet, so we'll just do a little bit together so we can see. The grey is quite a dark grey, and it is literally just working it onto the areas of shadow. Sorry, not shadow, reflection. And just catching those areas. And just giving them a little smattering of this dark grey just to start to create where we want the light to be. Just trying to catch all those muscle edges, anywhere where we think the light would be striking. We'll just feather it down the glove. And then essentially it is just working around the model, getting that first layer of grey down. And I'll continue that on his back, down his legs, and then we'll work with the next shade of grey. So with our next grey, this is the London grey here. We'll actually get a bit more water on the brush, done that over here, back into the grey, the brush being quite wet now, and then we should have a really, really thinned and delicate application to go on here. And what we'll do is we'll just highlight the area that we've been starting to work on. And depending on how strong we feel the area is being hit by the light, then we apply either, in the case of the main thigh, more grey, more light, And then as we move on to the sections of the abdomen, getting his 6-pack done. Although he's been shortchanged here, he's only got a 4-pack going on. We start to use a little bit less of the lighter grey and just try and reinforce. Let's come a bit closer. There we go. And I'll just do the same on the top of his head. But you can see there's quite a large area of grey applied there. So we're really going to bring that in now. And as we look back from the model, we can now start to see his highlights. I need to work on his lower legs, work on his back, and then we'll start to apply a more finishing highlight and start to look at moving on to the next piece. So I've now mixed a portion of the wolf grey in with the neutral grey, just to give us a sort of a much brighter grey tone. And we'll do a really, really central highlight. And then when we come to the arm sections, it will be really, really careful and just touching a small area on the peak of the highlights. And then working our way around the model is just catching the very edges of where we're trying to achieve now, just to give like a real high tone of reflection. Okay, so the harness for the ammo clips, the pistol pouch and the backpack that he's wearing is quite interesting because it is such fine work to do. Now, so the first thing I've done on my palette is I've got some Citadel Evil Suns. Sorry, that's a lie. I've got some Citadel Mephiston Red, and I've got some Vallejo Leather Brown, and I've taken the Leather Brown and a small dose of the Mephiston Red, mixed them together and added a little bit of black just to darken it up a little bit, maybe a little bit more red in there. There we go. Maybe tiny bit more black. There we go. And then get rid of loads off the brush. And what I've done is I've been round, you can see on the front here, I've just touched, I'll bring it closer so you can see. I've just touched the belt all the way around the front. I need to do all this backpack work here, but it is literally just putting a layer of the brown on the belt itself and just working around, just being tidy as you go. Now we've actually got the brown layer, we grab the Mephiston Red and just very gently try and draw a line sort of down the middle of the belt and leaving a little bit of the brown towards the ends of the belt, and this is more of a highlight colour. And then once you've captured all of the belt, the next thing that we're going to do is re-grab the darker colour and push the darker colour back into the middle of the belt and try not to catch the red right at the edge. That's it. And then we go to the tan earth and mix the tan earth with a tiny bit of Evil Suns, generating a sort of browny pink colour. And that's going to go on the edge of the belt. Both on the upper and lower surfaces. We then go back to our Mephiston red, and then we neaten up the line on the inside of the belt. Grab some of the Evil Suns, and that's going to be the extreme highlight, so where the light is most prominent. And then back to our dark shade and introduce our dark shade at the very edges of the belt. Okay, and hopefully you can see that there. So I'm going to work around all the rest of the belt loops doing that, and then I think we'll probably make a start on the gun. So we have all the belt straps done in red with a little bit of highlighting around them. And so the next thing to go to, I think, is going to be the gun barrel. In the picture, it's a dark green. So I will use Vallejo's dark green, mixed with a tiny little bit of black already on the palette, and just simply give the whole of this section and this section a careful coat of the dark green, mixed with a little bit of black, and literally just very carefully making sure we don't catch anything else. Careful around the eagle, and we'll do the bottom section here as well. We'll just strike over the holes carefully around his fingers, and then we'll just do the top on the other side. And with all of the stock of the barrel now green, with the black, we'll then re-go over around about 50%. So what we're trying to do now is focus on highlights. So towards the upper side of the stock. And on the upper edge here, near the scope. Down towards the end of the iron sights, where you'd get a bit more light. not all the way up to the scope though, on top of the iron sights. And then we'll just do the opposite side as well. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get some dark green and a little bit of white. We're making ourselves the extreme highlight. We just need to very carefully just catch the edge. And just give those upper surfaces a dusting of this very pale green. And I think we'll go a little bit paler again. And just retouch, but this time a little bit less of the gun. So maybe working our way at the back here. And repeating that on the opposite side of the weapon. That is once we've had chance to just put a thin highlight to emphasise where the bottom of the weapon is as well. Right, and now we're ready to paint the little eagle insignia. So we're going to use, this is a far too heavily loaded brush. So I've just dabbed it on my paper towel and then we'll just spread gold around. And there's a second colour I'm going to use is Peridot by scale 75. Now this time the Peridot is actually a really thin paint, so we will make sure that we do take off a good excess before we apply it to the figure. There we go. Just catching some highlights on the edges of the wings. Just a little bit bold with that first touch. We'll take some of that off. Okay, and then we just need to find the skulls. There's one on the gun here and one on here. We'll do those exactly the same technique, and then we will get on with doing some of the leather pouches. So now we're going to move on to the leather pouches, and for that we're going to use German black brown, some chocolate brown, and also the tan earth that we were using earlier. So we'll get a little bit of that onto the German dark brown first. And we'll just do an initial coat, catching everything but leaving like a little black line around where the straps are, or not painting where the straps are. And we'll just carefully and tidily just work our way around both of those, well, the 2 ammo pouches and the holster. I can't, oh, there's the knife sheath as well. All of that will take brown. So that's the first layer of brown applied. Maybe a little dark to see. But what we'll do now is we'll get the chocolate brown and mix it with a little bit of the German black brown, just so it transitions a bit better. And we'll just catch down on the lower portions of the ammunition pouch where the light would catch, where it's not being hidden by the other structures. And then we'll catch the closing straps and overrun all of the edges. And we'll just catch the very edge of the upper pouch, and then we'll run the paint away from where the overhang is so that it looks like there's natural shadow there. And we'll do exactly the same this side. And then we'll go to just the chocolate brown on its own and come a little bit further down, increasing the perception of depth on the miniature, or on this particular ammunition bag. And then we'll go back to the tan earth, and that's going to be our highlight colour. And we just gently, with the side of the brush, going to catch the edges, and we'll just catch the upper surface there, bottom edge of there, and again down the sides, the edge of the brush. We'll catch the bottom as well. And we'll use that principle with all of the ammunition pouches in the holster. Now for a little bit of a tricky bit, and possibly better to do this without the head on actually, but what we're going to do is pop a little bit of corn into the eye sockets, corn red by Citadel. So you can see that eye socket there. As gently as we can, try and get the angle right as well. And then what we'll do is we'll get a little bit of white and mix it in with the corn, and we'll put a little stripe on the bottom edge of the eye. And then we will get a little bit of our Evil Sun's red and run that where we've just put the pinky white colour. Okay. For our next step, we're going to use Vallejo Light Grey, Vallejo Grey Wolf, and a bit of just standard white. And that's probably going to be our last tricky step, because what we're going to do now is we're going to paint the face visor on this helmet. So what we're going to do is very carefully get the light grey and find where the edge of it is. Okay, just get a little bit more black, and we have a little bit of correcting to do. And we'll get some water, just make sure the brush is really mobile, because it's going to have to be quite accurate placement. I'm just struggling with working this close to the camera. That's better. That's got it. Right, now we'll go to the wolf grey, and the things that aren't in shadow will get a hit of wolf grey. And we will just get a little tad of corn red. Okay. And then we'll get the white, and anything that's on the extreme of the outside of this face visor will get a little catch of white. So at the moment I've put 3 colours on my palette. They're all the Vallejo metallic airbrush colours. There's gunmetal, we've got dark aluminium, And we've also got come on, focus, aluminium. So there's 3 tiny dots on there, and you just simply, it's very, very mobile paint, but it's also very high pigmented, so you will only need a very small amount. So just make sure you haven't got a saturated brush, and we're going to go up to that line there on the site, and just literally just run a coat on. We'll go over the top, the backpack, and this little jutty out bit. The little attachment point for the wire. We will do the audio sensor and mic. And we'll do the gun handle. What else can we say? There's the magazine. And on the other side of his head, we have the other part of his listening aid. Okay. And while we're leaving that to dry, we will go grab some more of the London Grey. Oh, wrong one. Give it a shake. And what we'll do is we'll do the rest of the sides while we're at it. Get a bit of black. Makes it to quite a dark grey again. And we will do the ghosting of the shadow on the barrel. Wolf grey, and mix some neutral grey and the wolf grey together. And then we'll revisit everything we've just touched. Just gently stroke with the side of the brush. And what I don't know if you can notice, but what I'm doing is in the exhaust port, I'm catching the bottom of the exhaust port, but then I'm running up the side of it and then starting thick, but rapidly thinning down, thinning the line as we come towards the end of the barrel until it sort of fades out and disappears. Okay. Right, so that's the sniper rifle nearly done. Left it quite subtle. Just need to catch a little bit of the paler tones again on here. Just real tiny line. And on the back, a little dink. I think we'll not hardly touch here. Okay, now I'm going to go back in on the weapon with some of the aluminium, but we need to be really gentle with this. We'll wipe quite a bit off, and what we're doing is we're going to pop right on the upper surfaces. Catch the bottom of the magazine. Can't see that bit there, so we'll not worry about that. And then what we're going to do is a nice easy effect. just to age it a little bit. And that's with some, close the lid so we don't have a dead aster, but with some Agrax Earthshade. And just grab the Agrax on your brush and just put it into the creases. Any circles, if you put a circle, any round pieces, if you just put a dot on the round pieces, it'll envelop them. And let me bring that close so you can see what I'm up to. So just there like that, it'll envelop it, and then we can just push the paint where we want it into the creases. And then on the magazine, run it into the grooves. On the earpiece here, there's actually some contouring on it, so we can just give it a blast and then lift off where we don't want it. So we'll go back in with the aluminium and just recatch the highlights. And it is just literally just tapping anything that's a little bit higher up. Just to re-emphasize anything that should be a bit shiny. Alright, and that's more or less most of the gun done now. And the assassin, I'm just looking around to see what we need to do. 2 wires, and I think we're there. So the wires are fairly straightforward. We'll grab some white, and we'll be careful as we get close to any structure. Oh, and there's the little tassel that's hanging off the skull at the back of the window either, which will be pretty straightforward. That's one wire done. And the other isn't a wire, the other's actually a tassel, so we'll do that separately in a second. But the wire's very easy to do. I'll let the white paint itself just settle a minute and then I'll show you how. Right, so I'm going to use some Imperial Fist contrast colour. This has got a beautiful coverage, nice heavily pigmented yellow, and it will be just simply just adding it on over the white, and we end up with a nice vibrant finished result. And then that is one thing left to do. We'll quickly steal some corn red. Dry it off on my thumb and then just strike it across the fibres of the tassel. We want this quite dark. I'm sure he wouldn't have a vibrant red flag waving around while he's busily trying to assassinate somebody. And then we will just for a bit of highlighting, we will go to the Evil Sun's red again. Just so that it just gives it a little bit of a punch. So using the corn red, which we were using earlier, and the Evil Suns, we're just going to put a small dot on either end of the scope, and finally some of the Evil Suns. We'll just get a little bit of the Evil Suns into a tiny dot. And just try and catch the upper surface of the other end. There we go. And that is the scope done. And I think we can call the assassin finished. So if you're here just to watch the assassin finished, we are done. But I am going on into the next video to finish the scaffolding and also the statue itself for the complete model. So if you want to see the whole model completed, then join me then.